Well, 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 here we are again with the infamous Nikon rig. 4 cameras, 4 different films, same image. So I want to know, what's the difference? Black and white looks the same, right? Or does it? Stay tuned to find out. So, 125. 125 is the magic number. Is the magic number. 1, 2, and 3. Let's see. Make that one. Let's make that one look good.
So, black and white films. Kodak, Ilford, Harman, you know their names. You probably even shot their films. And maybe you even sworn allegiance to one of them, like a religion. You probably shouldn't though. They're just brands. But here's the thing. Black and white is just black and white. Am I right? Can you really tell the difference between any of them if you put them against each other? Today, that's what I want to find out. So I put 4 of the most popular black and white film stocks, Kodak's T-MAX, Tri-X, Ilford's HP5, and Kentmere 400, all head to head. Now, I've always been a Tri-X guy, but after this, well, I might see things differently. And what I found out might even surprise you. Or not. So let's head out to the field and shoot this pain in the ass camera rig.
So I loaded up Tri-X at my FA. This is gonna be where I'm testing the meter. I'm gonna use this meter because it's a matrix meter and it hasn't failed me yet. So every single one of these cameras has a 50mm lens on it. These front 2 have the exact same 50mm lens. I bought a second one so I could do this. And I'm probably gonna shoot a 5.6 on all of these. Let's see, 5.6. Okay, let's shoot a first frame. It's gonna be hard, but all my F3 shots are gonna just be out of focus. Okay, just to keep myself honest.
Now, before we get much further in this episode and figure out what the deep state is trying to hide from us, I need to set some parameters. 1, to keep this accessible to everyone, I had the Darkroom develop and scan the rolls as if I was a basic-ass human sending off my film for development, like the majority. Let's be real, I'm as basic as they come. 2, that also means that we ain't doing some freaky-ass to this film by using some obscure developing technique. There ain't no dilution XYZ stand developing for 36 hours while cradling the Patterson tank and singing a lullaby. And if you're just as confused as I am, I get it. Me too. Basically, the developer is really important with black and white films, and you can really do some crazy awesome stuff and get more information out of your film stocks by alternative developing methods. And 3, I shot all these films at their native ISO, which is 400.
Okay, and
Now, after a few of these first images, 2 things are apparent right away. Kentmere is duller, less contrast than the others, and Tri-X is definitely a little bit more punchy. Deeper blacks right away. Also, don't worry about this dark strip on the side of the T-MAX frame. It's the strap getting in the way. Now, it is no secret that Kentmere is as flat as my ass is after I'm sitting on the toilet for 3 hours. That's due to Daddy Kent having less silver baked into that film, unlike other black and white film emulsions here on display. Silver in our film is like jewelry. It's a display of elegance. The more silver you have, the richer your shadows will look. And who doesn't like to look rich? But being rich isn't everything, says non-rich people.
Man, this is just beautiful. You know? I think because of it being kind of a flat scene, I might, let's see, do an exposure test here.
Like I said, I chose this area to do tests because overall the exposure was going to be pretty even. No dramatic differences between the shadows and the highlights. Exposing 2 stops over doesn't really affect your image all that much, other than increase your shadow detail. But when you go 4 stops over, you might see some loss in highlight definition across the board. Highlights are a bit muddy. And yeah, I don't know why I thought I could handhold 1/4 of a second on my FA.
And then 4, this is gonna be blurry as all hell.
Now moving our way down the exposure ladder, going 2 stops under isn't the worst thing in the world for most of the films, except for Tri-X. Honestly, I didn't expect Tri-X to perform so poorly. My boy's not doing too good right now. Now going 4 stops under, none are really amazing, but the winner is definitely HP5 or even Kentmere. At least you can pull out some information from those film stocks.
Oh, there's the sun, it's coming back. Yeah, keep it like that.
Next, looking at this moody photo of Lauren, my initial select would lean more closely towards T-MAX. The contrast is nice, and I like what it does to her skin tones. Well, I guess gray tones. I feel like overall, it gives her face a little bit more definition. HP5 is just a little bit more muted, and Kentmere is just, well, flat.
How's this look?
And we can kind of see the same thing here for this image as well of this broken bridge. I still prefer the T-MAX straight up. But it's also in this image that we can see another aspect of these black and white film stocks. Halation, or highlight blooming, or even bleed. Here, because of the lower overall contrast, Kentmere seems to hold on to the detail in the distant branches a little bit more than the others, especially Tri-X. However, each image does have some form of light bleeding into the background. This is very noticeable in those high contrast areas. T-MAX, however, seems to control that much better.
This might be kind of cool down here. Well, the foreground object's going to be slightly different in each one of these shots because of the parallax. So 1/25, 1/125. Cool, 1/125.
That control is even more apparent here in this image. Not only is it my favorite exposure out of the 4, if we pay close attention to the distant tree in the background, you will notice that Kentmere, HP5, and Tri-X all have some sort of light that is bleeding onto the dark area of the tree trunk, whereas T-MAX highlights really don't. This could be due to the famous T-grain pattern found in T-MAX specifically. TLDR on T-grain, finer grain, higher sharpness, smoother tones. All due to that larger shape of silver that T-MAX has. Ilford also has a T-grain film, which is their Delta line. And honestly, T-MAX is kind of killing the game right now, at least in my eyes. Now, undoubtedly, one massive thing when people talk about film, and black and white film specifically, is grain. That beautiful noisy pattern peppered all over your masterpiece. Grain is why we shoot film. Grain is life. So, how does each one of these films display that life? I thought it'd be a good opportunity to take Lauren's portrait with a little bit of light just hitting her cheek. And this would also be a good way to test how these different films react to portraits. Right off the bat with all these images, you will see that Kodak stocks still have the most contrast out of the 4. But it's in this Tri-X image that really surprises me. You can hardly make out Lauren's eye through her glasses, as well as the detail in her hair is lost. That's not a good sign for Tri-X's dynamic range. To be fair, we did already know that, but this is a real-world type scenario. Now making our way to grain, Tri-X is definitely more grainier out of the four. Kentmere and HP5 seem to be a little bit closer in their grain, but Kentmere feels a bit smaller in its grain structure over HP5. But we might be splitting hairs. And T-MAX, while not grainless, definitely has the less noticeable grain structure overall, that again, due to those T grains. Overall, other than the fact that Tri-X has what seems to be less latitude, it does, however, have the more appealing grain structure overall, at least to my eye. But hey, Tri-X is classic as hell. It did just celebrate its 70th birthday. However, if you did just add some contrast to Kentmere in post, you might get an image that will go head to head with Tri-X grain. Now, this might be a little bit more subjective, but if I were to do portraits, I'd probably go with either one of the Kodak film stocks, just knowing that if you do choose Tri-X, meter for the shadows. Okay, let's head back to LA and get these puppies developed.
Right behind me is the post office. And I want to explain how easy it is to send your film to today's sponsor, thedarkroom.com. I have 4 rolls that I'm gonna be developing. So let me just take out my phone, go to the Darkroom app. Here I'm already logged in. I'm gonna go to film developing. 35mm, I have 4 rolls. I'm gonna do some super scans. I like to get do not cut because I like to do my own cutting. I'm gonna continue. No prints this time, but you can totally get prints. Sorry, you can't see this little part. Confirm, check out. Next, just write your order number down here. 949. Then, just put everything in the mailer. See, you can do this from anywhere. You can do it from the comfort of your own home. You can do it from the comfort of the post office. You can even be on the road and send out film at the same time. Shoot, send out. It's that easy. Okay, now all we gotta do is drop it off.
Okay, so I have one last technical thing to get out of the way before we move to our final conclusion. Let's shoot a color chart for all those nice gray tones. But don't worry, I will not bore you to death. Just like my previous video where I tested cheap color films against each other, I also tested this film against a color chart and isolated it just to those gray tones specifically. Overall, it just confirms what we knew about these films in the first place. You will see that T-MAX has more definition in the highlights, but ever so slightly. And if we move towards 6 stops underexposed, hence if you really fudge up royally, just know you can fudge up HP5 and you won't have to perform seppuku. I can't say it would look good, but you'll get something. Now here, with all this wonderful information at your itchy fingertips, can we answer the age-old question put forward in the beginning of this video? Does all black and white films look the same? Or at least, do these black and white films look the same? Yeah, they do. For the most part, or they can. As nitpicky as I've been this entire episode, I know that I can make these films look pretty similar to each other in post, especially if you're just gonna look at them on your cracked iPhone screen. I mean, look at this slightly edited photo taken on Tri-X against Kentmere, or even T-MAX. Just kidding, that was the Pentax K3 monochrome. This is T-MAX. Just kidding, that was HP5. Here's T-MAX. Get my point? Now, before you crucify me, sure, there are differences, no doubt, we went through them. Sharpness, grain, highlight retention, and I'm sure a more talented eye, or just really, honestly, a more talented person in general, could pick them out of a police lineup. So here's my new rule of thumb. If you need crazy-ass latitude, HP5. If you want the sharpest film around, T-MAX, no doubt. If you want something that you can enlarge perfectly, which we haven't gotten into, but really is an important part of film photography when talking about black and white specifically, Tri-X. And if you're feeling cheap, Kentmere. But as you've probably seen on my channel before, I push that shit. Kentmere is by far the cheapest on this list. And I currently have a 100-foot roll of that and Tri-X, so I'll definitely just be finishing those up. However, if you were to make me pick, like hold a gun to my Mamiya 7's rangefinder and tell me to choose one for the rest of my miserable life or else, T-MAX. It seems to be the most versatile, which really hurts my little Tri-X soul. But what this did help me realize is that I should be exposing my Tri-X for the shadows to help them out a little bit. And the most surprising film out of them all was actually how well Kentmere performed across the board. don't sleep on Kentmere. Don't do it. I mean, overall, yeah, less contrast. But honestly, push it or add contrast in post and it's there. Well, I hope you learned a thing or two. I know I sure did. Comment down below with your ride or die black and white film and tell me which film I should put through hell next. Honestly, there are so many out there and it might be cool to find the ultimate one. Well, how about you go out there and shoot some black and white film this weekend, why don't you? Okay.